What's up, everybody? It's Shelby with Hooks, Books, and Crime, and it's Crafts and Story Time. I've got a good story for you. It's, as usual, sad, tragic. I didn't realize when I was covering this that we actually just passed the anniversary of this crime and the death. And I don't know if it's just me that every time I watch something true crime or I'm looking into something and I'm always like right at the anniversary of it, I get a little like, ooh, like, I don't know. It's just such a weird coincidence. So when I saw the date, I was like, that was like a week ago. So I will be finishing my daughter's dress. I'm going to be playing Yarn Chicken because that's all I got left. And it's Best Value from Joann's, which is closed now. So I can't just go buy more. So if worse comes to worse, I guess my daughter's just going to wear black shorts under this and it'll be like a tunic, because I'm not paying $20 for one skein of yarn when I have so many other projects I want to work. That, yeah, like I gotta make a Halloween sweater for my dog, for my cat. I gotta work on my next character, which I'm super excited for, because my little post that I made about like TV crushes that had red flags, I posted it about Zeke. Oh my God. And there's a character, or there's like a person in there in the comments that I'm like, oh my God, I need to make him too, because he was another crush that I was just like, oh, me and my sister were just like so in love with him. But I mean, Zeke is peak. Zeke, he was only a drug dealer because he was misunderstood. His mom didn't care about him and he was bored and smart. I could fix him. But all right, let's get into it. I'm like in love with my makeup today. Tried to make my lips bigger because I have no lips. But yeah, I'm like, for once in a long time, feeling how I look. That doesn't happen to me very often. So silent clap for me. But okay, yeah. So also, even at that, I think it's even weirder. So we just passed the anniversary of this murder, but also the date looked very familiar. And it's actually because it's very close, if not the same day, to the Christian Aguilar case that I had covered. So that was a little spooky too, and especially because they're on opposite coasts. If it would have been the same day, same year, that would have been insanely like coincidental, and just, it would have really I think the ugliness in the crimes would have just been taken to a whole new level, but they're 3 years apart. But so we are in Westwood, California. We're at UCLA, and I was going to say, I think go Bruins. It's mascot, Bruins. Now, it's September 20th of 2015, and it's a Sunday night. The first day of school is the next day. And there's an apartment with some sorority sisters. Some of them are in the same sorority. Some of them are actually from another sorority. They're seniors, and they've actually stayed up late because what do college programs, not just sororities, what do they do usually the first week of college, as well as within those first weeks? They recruit. They try to get new members they try to bring in freshmen, maybe even some upperclassmen. So they're making posters. They're just getting prepared, getting amped up. It's their senior year again. So it's exciting. It's a very exciting time. These girls go to bed pretty late, like 3 a.m, and at around 6:15, a neighbor of this apartment, she actually had just got back from dropping her boyfriend off at the airport, and she couldn't really sleep, or she was trying to fall back to sleep rather, and she heard a scream. And not just a scream, she heard screaming, devastating screaming, terrifying screaming. So she calls the police. The police come by, they investigate around the campus, but they don't find anything, which is very strange because she could hear so much going on. The dog was barking, and she actually knew the girls in this apartment, and she knew the dog. So she was very concerned. And when the police tell her, we didn't find anything, after that, you're obviously not going to go back to sleep. She's scared and she's on alert. So she just keeps an eye out. And then closer, she hears glass shatter. She hears a fire alarm. And she sees a man with a blanket over him run out into the shadows away from the apartment. And that's when the nightmare for the girls inside the apartment begins. The girls are awakened by this blaring fire alarm. There's smoke in the apartment. They're trying to wake each other up. They're trying to get everybody out. But this fire and the smoke was so strong that they weren't able to get one of their roommates out, which that's just traumatizing already, really. It's heartbreaking. You left someone behind, but you had no choice, so you have guilt whether they survived or not. you're going to feel guilty. And they waited outside for the firefighters to put it out and to hear word that their friend's okay. But unfortunately, they get the opposite news. Their roommate, Andrea DelVesco, has been found dead in her apartment. And she had this cute little dog that she had adopted named Shea Panda, which that name is just the cutest thing ever, Shea Panda. I don't know what inspired it, but I think it's adorable. I love cute pet names. And her dog is severely burned. He's alive, but she's hanging on by a thread. And the beginning of these girls' senior year has just turned into this flood of depression, misery, and loss. Now, Andrea DelVesco is from Austin, Texas. She's one of 5 kids. And I mean, nobody really has anything bad to say about this girl. She was very adventurous, always on the go, always up for something, and really wanted to learn anything about everything. She just loved knowledge. And when you have that much knowledge, you have a lot of interest. So she had a lot of interests education-wise, but she landed on psychology. She wanted to help people. Admirable. She went to look at colleges and she chose UCLA, and she seemed to really live it up in college. She joins a sorority, Pi Beta Phi, which I think I said that last one, right? PHI has to be Phi. She joins a sorority and she starts really making a lot of friends and important friendships, meaningful friendships, not surface level. These girls really seem to have each other's back and genuinely care about each other's well-being and really want to see each other succeed. So when they find out that their friend, Andrea, or they call her Andy, when they find out that Andy didn't make it, they're devastated. And these girls really try to wake her up and get her out of there. And it's a fire. There's only so much you can do. So investigators come on scene and they interview all the roommates. But they also interview Sarah Muir. And Sarah, I mean, the girl's a pistol. Good for her. She is crucial in this whole investigation because she witnessed everything. She heard everything. She witnessed everything. So she's able to provide a timeline. But also, when she saw that man run, she ran after him. She chased him and she sees him get into a red vehicle and she sees that there's a fraternity sticker on there and she's kind of in the Greek neighborhood. So police are ecstatic about that because that's easily, they can go and question them. They have somewhere to focus. As investigators are questioning the roommates and Sarah, the arson investigator goes in and looks. He comes back and realizes that this is most definitely an intentional arson. This fire was not an accident. This fire was started by the suspect dumping the trash can on Andy's bed and lighting it. And it's just, that makes you take a step back when you hear stuff like that. At least for me especially, I have a deathly fear of fire. I'm terrified of it. My fear is more so not that I won't get out, that I won't be able to get my kids out. It's literally a fear that keeps me up at night or early in the morning. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and have to check everything. I'm terrified. I should probably see a therapist about that because I lose a lot of sleep from it. I really do. Andy, this poor girl, you can only imagine, you think at fires, you usually hope that they died of smoke inhalation before the fire actually made contact with them. Of course, the body is taken out to the coroner. And I think one of the most heartbreaking parts is, again, Andy's family is back in Texas. Texas is a huge state. Austin Central takes 8 hours just to get out of Texas when you're that far out. It does not let you leave. Back at home, her parents are just starting their day regularly. They have no idea anything like this happened. And the way they find out is through Andy's best friend. Andy's best friend calls her sister or texts her sister, reaches out to her sister. Her younger sister's still in high school. She's in one of her morning classes. And which I'm kind of annoyed that this is how they reached out to her. But all they said was, "Do you know?" And obviously you're going to be like, do I know what? And that's when she finds out that her sister, Andy, is gone. I can't imagine the walls crumbling around her I can't imagine what you feel in that moment. Finding out that way and just all the circumstances behind it. It's not a car accident. It's nothing like that. It was a fire and everybody got out but her. It's terrible. So then it spreads to her parents and her parents are speaking with the police and They already were concerned about the matter of the fire because everything that they really won't tell the parents anything. Everything is, we'll tell you when you get here. We'll tell you when you get here. And that can't be good. That doesn't sound good to anybody. Why can't you tell me? Why can't you tell me on the phone? What is so significant about this that you need to look me in the eye and tell me? So her parents have to go through booking flights, this long travel. They get there late in the night and go straight to the police department. They go into basically like a meeting room, probably an interview room, to learn about what happened to their daughter. And there's someone sitting in there with them that has the word coroner just on their shoulder. Those poor parents. I don't even want to know what thoughts go through their head. I hope none of us are ever in that situation. And that's when they learn that through the autopsy and everything that Andy was actually already dead when the fire happened. Andy had been stabbed 19 times, front, back, and she had 2 to her neck. She was brutally attacked in her sleep. And this girl was not out at a club partying. She didn't bring a strange man home. She spent the night in crafting with her sorority sisters and friends. She did not go out. She wasn't drinking. She wasn't inebriated. All these things that come into play onto how people get hurt and how people get into bad situations, people following them, men and women, because it happens to both. She never left her home. That's what's so scary and gross and invasive about this. She stayed home. The predator came to her door looking for anybody. And unfortunately, this poor girl left her balcony door open, and her balcony door was an entryway into her bedroom. It led right in there. She wasn't even a specific target. This person was going to hurt anybody. They learned this about their daughter, about this vicious attack that she went through. And then once they leave the police department, they get another call. And in this call, it's actually from the veterinarian, because Shay Panda, when they put out the fire and they found the dog, or they found Shay, they sent Shay to get medical care as well. She was at a vet and they needed them to come right away. When they get there, they find out that the dog Shay Panda is barely hanging on. I think it's a miracle, the fact that she lived through all of that already. It still was there. But they were very honest. She's suffering. She's in a lot of pain, and you can prolong it, but you're just prolonging the suffering. Recovery is going to be expensive and it's going to be painful. And with that knowledge, her parents decided to allow Shay Panda to gain her wings with their daughter. And I feel like there's like a bittersweetness to it, because the dog would have been a connection, like a final connection to Andy's last days and who Andy was at this point in her life. But at the same time, you gain solace that her spirit is going to be joined by her best friend through these years. It's definitely a hard thing to accept, and I think it's probably a road to appreciate it, because everything in this right now is just hard, ugly. Through all of this, investigators stay in this neighborhood pretty late. So later in that evening, while police are still investigating the apartment and the arson and interviewing, they had so many witnesses they had to interview, just because of how many people are in this, not just how many people are in this apartment, the amount of people in the apartment complex and the surrounding area. So these 2 students come across the street and tell one of the officers that their apartment was burglarized last night, and they literally live right across the street. They face each other, their apartments. And this is really a great place to start to see what's going on. So the police go ahead and they send some officers down that way to that apartment, and they start investigating as well. And what's missing are, what you would expect to be missing, when you're robbed. A laptop, some speakers, regular burglary stuff. These are college students, so I doubt that there's diamonds and stuff like that. So college kid shit. Now, apparently, I've never heard of these speakers before. It's either because they didn't get very popular or I'm poor. It's one of those. But also not into speakers. It could be that too. But apparently, they're called Sonos speakers. I didn't Google them. I should have. Do they still sell those? I don't know. But apparently, in order to use these speakers, you actually have to go online and register them, which is amazing because that means whoever stole them, if they really plan on using those speakers, they have no choice but to register them. The detective, I should say, calls the company and basically tells them, like, as soon as you get a hit that these speakers specifically are being registered or there's an attempt to register, you need to call me. And just like that, it's like, okay, now I can look at other stuff. Kind of takes care of itself. Now, if this whole murder isn't gross already, poor girl's already dead, the dog's in the room, and some asshole fucking murders her for no reason, basically. So if this isn't ugly enough, a young girl sleeping in her bed, minding her own business, didn't cause anybody grief, nothing. Some asshole just walks into her apartment, fucking kills her, and then decides, I don't want to get caught. I see her dog here. I'm going to light a fucking fire anyway. And just lights her ablaze. She stabbed so many times, but she definitely was dead. There was no smoke inhalation. There's no signs that she was alive when the fire was set. This fire was clearly meant to cover the murder and the evidence. That's it. Not to ensure she's dead. He knew she was dead. I was going to hide that it's a man, but I already said he earlier, so it's a dude. But who is the dude? That's the question. Now, if this isn't like gross enough, right? If this isn't just heinous enough, word starts getting out about Andy being murdered. Students, of course, it's the first, we're just getting started. Nobody has even set foot into their first class and somebody's dead. Especially for a freshman who's in a town all by themselves for the first time, that's terrifying. I'm sure they were questioning, like, did I pick the right school? Where the hell did I choose? That's terrible. And this is a campus that's known to be safe. It's a beautiful campus in this beautiful little town, and they seem pretty commingled with each other. It seems ideal for that college experience. And this is what happens just before classes start. That's just beyond me. But as kids start to learn of Andy's death, so does the media. And what does the media love? They love to stir the pot. So next thing you know, things start coming out about Andy that she was a drug dealer. And this must have been like a drug deal gone wrong, or she owed somebody money. And then it turns into like, okay, she was caught with drugs. However, she was not, I think the article said that she was like a methamphetamines dealer, which, yeah, you're like, why the fuck is a college kid dealing meth? Gross. It's like the grossest drug aside from heroin. Those are nightmare drugs. Seriously. Stay away from all of them, kids. Now, yeah, they're putting all this shit out. She was caught with Adderall that she was not prescribed, which, let's be honest, that's probably almost every college kid, especially back then. And you have doctors, who are just like, Adderall for everybody. You get Adderall, you get Adderall. Because it is, yes, it's addictive, which I used to be on Adderall. I can't take it because of my blood pressure, but I used to take Adderall. And yeah, it was great to focus with and everything. I definitely wasn't something that I'm like, oh, I gotta take my Adderall. It was nothing like that. So I don't understand how people get addicted to it. I don't, but to each their own, right? Well, no, not in this. Don't do it. What the fuck am I saying? But yeah, no, she was not a meth dealer. It was Adderall. I think she also had acid or some other drugs, some other college shit, honestly. She was not a drug dealer though, most definitely. But it turns into that. And people kind of start to write her murder off because of it. Like, oh, well, she had it coming then, or I feel no sympathy for drug dealers, blah, blah, blah. Which means nothing has changed with people. Nobody does their goddamn research before they make stupid ass comments when people die or when just shitty things happen to someone. It's gross. Everybody just do your research. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm nerdy. I love rabbit holes. I'm always doing my own research. But yeah, everybody was just jumping on this bandwagon. Oh, she's a drug dealer. Meh, meh, meh. She was not. And it's public information. They could have easily looked it up. Ridiculous. So all this is going on in police. Luckily, the police don't have this attitude of well, you know what, another drug dealer off the street, because they knew she wasn't a drug dealer. And even if she was, the steps that were taken and the manner of this whole murder was carried out in, is definitely a threat to society. You can't just have fucking people walking into other people's homes and murdering them and lighting them on fire. Drug dealer or not, you can't just allow that. Like, oh, I hope you only get like, no, you can't be that way. So they start looking into things, and they go to that fraternity that the car had the sticker on. They go to that fraternity. But when they ask the guys, nobody has a red car. So they're super confused. And there's so many college kids and so many apartments. The amount of interviews they're having to do is just, I mean, it never ends. There's so many. But luckily, Sonos calls the detective. 2 days after the murder, somebody tried to register the speakers. They traced the IP address, and it's someone located in Fresno, which isn't too far from UCLA. Honestly, it sounds like it's the same distance that we would travel from where I am to Austin. So not too much of a drive. So the police go to this apartment and they question the man that's there, and he tells them, and I mean, this kid, you'll see why this kid just sang like a canary. I will tell you everything. So he tells them, they're asking him like, were you at UCLA this weekend? And he tells them no, but his roommate went to UCLA. His roommate drove a red car and went to UCLA for the weekend because his friend was a student there. And when police search the apartment, they find the speakers. And this roommate that went to UCLA for the weekend is named Alberto Medina, or Albert. Albert went to go visit his friend Eric Marquez at UCLA. So police are like, great, let's go find Albert. Well, first they go and find Albert, and they bring Albert in for questioning. He almost talks a little too quickly. I don't know, there's just something about his interview that it draws some questions. And even at that, he tells them that what happened is him and his friend Eric went to the Chris Brown concert that night, and then they started looking for parties, and that they got back around 5 a.m, and that was that, that they did nothing else. But his story, like every time he tells it, he just throws in another detail and he throws in another detail. So it's very obvious, like, dude's lying. And eventually they get to the point where they ask if they robbed anybody. And at first he denies it. And he's like, yeah, well, we robbed, he said, we robbed an apartment. It was me and my friend. And that's when they ask him, like, did you do anything else? And basically tell him that somebody saw somebody run out with a blanket around them and that a girl's dead. And when they tell him this, he automatically goes, he went across the street and I think he tried to go rape her or something. And he came running back from the apartment saying, I fucked up. We gotta go. We gotta get the fuck out of here. And we left. And he's like, I think her name was Andy. That's what he says. So police are like, okay, noted. We're gonna go talk to Eric. Now, when they talk to Eric, definitely two types of friends here, because Eric is over here lying for both of them. Eric is saying, like, no, we just went home. We went to the Chris Brown concert. We went and partied a little bit, and then we went home. We didn't do anything else. We didn't stop anywhere else. We didn't burgle any apartments. And then, they're kind of like, well, that's not what Albert told us. And that's when he starts telling them, like, look, I was super drunk. I don't remember anything. He was in the car. They were in Albert's car. Albert got out first. Like, they burgled that one apartment. They stole the speakers, a laptop, and that Albert got out of the car and he stayed in the car. He doesn't know what Albert did after. Sorry about that, guys. Had something come up, so I had to come back and finish the next day. So let's backtrack a little bit. Kind of messed up there. When police interview, I only have this much left. When police interview Albert and Eric the first time, like I said, clearly two different kinds of friends, because Albert throws Eric under the bus immediately. Eric tries to cover for both of them. So one's a real friend, one's a bitch. Because of this, like, police go back after hearing both sides. They go back and interview Eric again. And this time they show Eric the footage of everything that happened, because Eric originally was just trying to say they burgled everything and they left. That's it. And that they were drunk, but they didn't do anything else. And he doesn't know anything about a fire. He just plays dumb and tries to cover for both. So when police obtain Eric's apartment footage, where clearly They're back around the time that the fire would, like after the fire, the reasonable time for them to get back to his apartment after it was started, and how Albert basically matches the description provided by Sarah of him being covered in a blanket, as well as, you know, later on that day, you see both of them and Albert's wearing completely different clothes. The blanket's not there, but Eric's holding a trash bag for him, which is suspicious because we know every time there's evidence, people dispose of it. And that's when Eric starts talking more and tells him, like, yes, we did burgle the apartment. And that's when he says, but he was so drunk, he doesn't remember anything. He waited in the car for Albert. He doesn't know what Albert did, but Albert did leave him in the car, came back, and they took off. And that's all he knows. Since both are telling totally different stories, one's pointing a finger, one's like literally like, I don't even know what happened. That's when they check both of them for any physical evidence or, any bodily evidence, I guess, that would show if either one of them was in an altercation. And Eric's completely clean. Albert is covered in scratches and abrasions. And that's when they go ahead and get a warrant and search Albert's apartment. And in Albert's apartment, they find the speakers. Also so they get a warrant for his apartment and his car. His car has smeared blood, and it's Andy's smeared blood on the handle, in the car, inside the house. They find, again, the speakers. They find the trash bag that Eric was holding. It has the blanket. It has his bloody clothes, which also tested positive for Andy's DNA. And it actually has the knife. It has the murder weapon. And that murder weapon matches the knife set in Andy's kitchen. Everything is pointing back at Albert at this point. So Albert and Eric are both arrested after this. Eric is charged with burglary and as well as, the accomplice after the fact. Can't think of the name all of a sudden. And Albert is charged with arson, murder, animal cruelty, and burglary. So in 2018, Albert is actually found guilty of all counts. And he is sentenced to life in prison, which obviously. And Eric is sentenced to, I believe it's like 6 to 8 months for burglary. And as it is, so Albert's roommate ends up actually testifying against him also. And what he saw that day, at one point, his roommate and Albert were watching the news and they were seeing everything going on in the news of what was going on with UCLA with the fire and Andy's murder. And apparently, Albert had turned to his roommate and just, nonchalantly said she was probably trying to fight off someone trying to rape her. I don't think it would have been that big of a deal if he was already not acting weird and had just come from UCLA that weekend. It definitely rubbed him the wrong way, as it should have. So what police believe happened that night is, again, the patio doors lead right into Andy's room, and Andy was on her balcony. Sarah saw her on her balcony before she went to bed. Andy was on her balcony, and they think that is when Albert saw her. And that's when he kind of made his decision that he's going to try to get to her that night because he was across the street burgling, you know what I mean. He was in somebody else's apartment taking shit. So him and Eric went back to the car. Eric passed out in the car, and that's when Albert went back. He entered through her patio door, went to her kitchen, took a kitchen knife out, and attacked Andy. And remember, Sarah had originally called the police because she could hear Andy screaming and she could hear the dog barking. So when he saw that 2 officers were patrolling and searching through the complex, they believe he just hid in Andy's room and stayed completely quiet. Once he saw that the officers left is when he decided to dump the trash can on her bed, light it on fire, leave her poor dog in there, and bolt. And that's when he broke the glass and ran out covered in blood. And so because, there were 2 officers who somehow just missed all of this, those officers actually end up being fired later on through an internal investigation. I couldn't find, and I'll be honest, I didn't do like a freedom of information on it or anything. I don't even know if I can when it's stuff like that, but they did get fired. So it makes me wonder if maybe they were to prove that maybe they didn't even bother really looking. Maybe they did a brief sweep. Maybe they kind of just bullshitted through the whole thing, but they were let go, which it's kind of hard to say like they deserved it because we don't know what was found in that investigation. Maybe it wasn't even related to Andy's case. Maybe it was negligence in something else. And Andy's case is was just like, the camel that broke the straw's back, the straw that broke the camel's back. So Andy's family, Andy was one of 5. And of course, Andy, there's never just one victim. The whole family is a victim. A lot of times the murderer's family is a victim because there's so many times where you don't realize what someone's capable of and you get a backlash on it. Oh, you must have been a bad parent, blah, blah, blah. We don't know if Albert had good or bad parents, but we've seen in so many cases where some people have parents who try as much as they can, the best that they can, and their kids still end up being monsters or in a crime of passion, doing something nobody would ever expect to be done. But from what I understand, Albert is serving his sentence in Chowchilla, if I remember correctly. I just love that word, Chowchilla. And Andy's family just has to take it day by day and hope that the pain goes, well, not that the pain goes away, but that the pain gets easier eventually. So rest in peace, Andy DelVesco and Shea Panda. And please lock your damn doors, guys. I know we say like, why wouldn't do that now? But when you feel that safe, it's real easy to get comfortable. And unfortunately, it's probably best that we never get too comfortable. And Juan Yarn Chicken. If I could get, I don't even know where this knot came from. There it is. I want yarn chicken. That's all I got left. Just this little bit. I can't believe I did it. That's my daughter's costume. She's going to be Louise. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.